this into the blender called the project, and you get the output, which are your deliverables. Now that was what was about project management. Now there are different techniques of project management, or different approaches we can say to project management. Traditionally, a phase-driven approach was followed, which we all know waterfall model to be one of the pioneer or the flagships of the phase-driven approach. A waterfall model is a very strict model wherein each phase is started only after the previous phase finishes. So you have initiate, the project initiation, then the planning and the designing, then the actual execution of the project, monitor and control, and the completion and final delivery of the project. Now this is a very strict model wherein strict and a very constrained model wherein you cannot start the next stage till you have reached a certain degree of completion in the previous stage. The other kind of approach is an adaptive approach, which is one of the words that we always keep hearing about the adaptive approach nowadays is the agile technology. So this is more like every day. This is more agile as the word defines it, wherein things are allowed to change. You do not plan for a very long time. You just do in short sprints. You plan every iteration and it goes into a daily build. So the product, you do short sprints of it and then work towards the final build. Now both of these approaches have their own good and bad points. The waterfall model, the disadvantage or the limiting factor there is it's a very strict model. It does not allow for too much of flexibility. On the other hand, agile becomes a very flexible model wherein you have risks such as scope creep, wherein if you have your consumer your customer who can go on changing your requirements at every iteration, so you tend to work towards scope creep wherein your scope might keep on changing. The other problem that is present in agile, which is specifically applicable for mobile application development, is that new resources need to they lack the effort estimation and decision making skills that are required in agile to stand up and say that yes, this is how much time I'm going to require to do it, or okay, to take a decision where as soon as he's faced with a problem. So since a lot of people working in the mobile applications industry are going to be mostly freshers or new to this field, so they will need to be clubbed with somebody who's more experienced. And since we work in a very resource constrained environment, this becomes a little bit of a problem for us. So following a fully agile model also is not very feasible. So what become our challenges? Which is the model of project management do we pick? And what are the best practices that we want to apply? These are the two major challenges we are facing. Now, our answers would primarily depend on what are our available resources and what is the type of products. Now, we'll take these question by question. First, we'll address the question of which model of project management we want to pick. So, before we try to start answering our questions, we need to understand the kind of environment we work in. The environment we work in are driven by our work definitions, which is like multiple platforms, multiple products, multiple releases, changing product definitions. And it's a very constrained environment because we have very few resources. Most of the times we have very few resources who are expected to multitask, give out multiple releases at the same time, and they're very aggressive timelines. If you've got a bug fix coming in, if you've got a product on the App Store and you see your users start giving a review about it, you need to fix that bug immediately. You cannot really say, I want to change request, I want to update my product design, etc., and then I'm going to start doing my bug fix. It's going to be like 1 hour, 2 hours, things like that. And the third constraint that a lot of independent developers, independent app developers and small companies are going to face is a limited budget. Now, what exactly is the driving factor behind this kind of environment? The environment that mobile applications industry provides us is because it's a very dynamic and an ever-changing market. Every day you have new devices, every day you've got newer applications. You log on to the App Store in the morning, in a day you've got like 100 more applications added to the App Store. And I'm just talking of one App Store. So it's a very dynamic market. And why this happens is because there's a large number of application publishers. And apart from the publishers, there are an even larger number of subscribers or end users. So your consumer base is huge. So how this is driving the environment is because your consumer base is huge and it's growing. So the publishers are doing more and more to every day to cater to that consumer market demands. So it's a cycle, and that's what makes this a very dynamic market and a very volatile market and a very exciting place to work in. So coming back to our question on which model should we use in such a place is something called iterative development. Now, this is nothing new. This is something all of us are familiar with. This is like a kind of a marriage between a traditional waterfall model and the agile model, wherein you have a product design that goes in as an input. Then then there are a number of iterations which are going to be repeated as required, wherein you plan, you develop, you test, and you give a feedback. So the product design, this is basically what is iterative development all about. Once you're satisfied with the level of product you've got, then you release the product. So what we are going to see in our next slides is how we apply the iterative development model and how we rather customize it to suit our needs. So